Do you ever wish making friends as an adult wasn't so weird? I used to feel awkward starting new connections, but I found a step-by-step approach that changed everything for me. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to meet aligned friends easily, even if you're anxious, busy, or hate small talk. Let's start with what you're actually looking for with your friendships. So step one is make a list. It's awareness. If you're feeling lonely or frustrated with social life, it might be because you're not clear on what you actually want from your friends and the people in your life. It's easy to say you're lonely, but how exactly do you want people to show up for you? What traits matter most to you in a friend? Do you want friends who proactively check in when things get tough, or friends who share your love for hiking and movies and deep conversations and you want to just do things with them? And it's just as important to figure out, what kind of friend do you want to be? What are your non-negotiables? What are your green flags? There are a bunch of questions you can ask yourself to get clear. And if you're thinking, I have no idea how to even start answering those questions, don't worry, I've got you covered. I know it can be daunting to have open-ended questions. I've created a free Google Doc worksheet with prompts and ideas of how to clarify what I'm just asked. You can download it from the link in the description below. And while you're there, you can also sign up for my weekly newsletter, Notes on Growth, where I share my insights, the stuff I found the most helpful as I go on my own journey into self-discovery and becoming the best version of myself. Step two, adjust your mindset and recognize it might feel weird at first. Most of us hesitate to initiate with new people because we're terrified of either rejection or looking awkward and making a fool of ourselves. Because making new friends as an adult can feel incredibly vulnerable. We're afraid of initiating contact and trying to connect and making ourselves look needy or maybe creep someone out. But I want to affirm to you that this is just human. Human beings need connection, and relationships are the vehicle for that connection. So the people around you probably want the same thing you do. And I think that helps when you're navigating the slight awkwardness of meeting new people as an adult. Feeling some social friction is totally normal. Maybe you've had the experience of sending a text and waiting days for a reply, or playing endless phone tag with someone, trying to find a time to meet. It doesn't mean anything personal. Everyone's juggling busy schedules, different energy levels, their own priorities. They have stuff going on. We all have jobs. Instead of taking it personally, remind yourself that this friction is natural. Okay? It happens to all of us, and it doesn't reflect on whether they like you. It's not a reflection of your worth. It's not a reflection of your general likability. It's just the reality of adulthood. Step three, go through your contact list. Now, this is an optional step. I know some people don't have people in their contact list that they feel like they can reconnect with, but I do think that this is worth doing, even if you think there's no one there, because you sometimes forget about people that you used to be somewhat close with, maybe during school or during a different season of your life, and you just sort of fallen out of contact. This is very normal to happen to everyone. And what I recommend you do is sort of make a list. I actually made an Excel spreadsheet, and I went down the list and I added people's names. I added a column that was like how likely they are to want to reach out, and I put in whether I contacted them or not and how I contacted them. So like Instagram or Facebook or text or whatever it may be. And this is a good step because you never know who may be available and looking for a connection right now, even if you haven't talked to them for a few years. And I did find that a lot of people were really flattered that I reached out, and I did some FaceTime calls with folks, and some of them were local, but a lot of them had moved out of New York. But it's nice to just flex that muscle, and it also is someone you in theory are more comfortable with because you have history with them. So I recommend this step just because it gets you out of your comfort zone. It can build your confidence, and I think that it's nice to reconnect with people from your past, especially when you're feeling a little nostalgic and you're lonely, and it's just a really low-hanging fruit. So I recommend everyone try that. Some text messages you can send are things like, hey, I was just thinking about you and I wanted to check in. How are you doing? It doesn't have to be this big thing. It doesn't have to be like, oh my God, I'm on this journey to find friends. Like, you don't have to say that. Sometimes a good way in is to ask for help, ask for their insights. So if they are an expert on something that's in the news, ask them if they have any insights, or they can have any resources you can read about, or if they're really into nails or fashion or music or whatever, ask them a question, see if they have something they can text you back, because there's something called the Ben Franklin effect. People really like people they do favors for. It's actually a very interesting phenomenon, but they can't be big favors. They can't be like, watch my kid. Like that's a kind of taking advantage, but it's littler things that also tend to lean into their competence. So if this is a person who's really good at writing and you ask them to proofread, I don't know, an email you wrote, like you're kind of stroking their ego and saying, oh, like, you're really good at this and I'm not. Can you please assist me? And so I think that's why the Ben Franklin effect works so well. It also creates this expectation of reciprocity so you can help them in the future and that sort of thing. So I do recommend this step. I think don't skip over it just because you think you don't have anyone. Just look. So once you've exhausted your list of contacts, try step 4, which is create opportunities for you to meet new people outside in the real world. There's actually a friendship formula that's pretty simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. The formula is proximity plus repetition equals connection. Think about how easy it was to make friends in school, in college, when you were all in the same group in a community and you saw the same people regularly. The friendships naturally formed because of proximity and repetition. One book that explained this really well is The Like Switch by Jack Schaefer and Marvin Carlins. I highly recommend it. Another good book is Fighting for Our Friendships by Danielle Bayard Jackson. That book is more female-centric, and the Like Switch is just generally like how connections and people work. So those are 2 great books I highly recommend. Here's how you put the friendship formula into practice right now. I want you to choose just 1 or 2 places that you genuinely enjoy visiting and where the likelihood of talking to someone or connecting with someone is medium to high. So what does that mean? So like if you enjoy movies and going to film, like see movies in theaters, that may be something you really enjoy, but it's a lower likelihood that you're ever going to talk to anybody because it's actually taboo to talk to people in the movies, right? But let's say you want to go to a festival where they have a discussion with the cast afterwards or something like that of an indie film that you really like. That is something you enjoy doing. It has to do with a hobby that you like. And also, there's a higher likelihood to mingle and talk to people, right? So that's what you want to keep in mind when you're trying to find places to go. And this is something you want to be able to do over and over again. Some other places I know people enjoy are workout classes, volunteer groups, co-working spaces, even your local library would be a great place, the cafe. Step 5 is initiate conversation with people. When you meet someone new after a few times, like, oh my God, I've seen you around here. My name's Charlotte. What's your name? Just ask their name, introduce yourself, keep a quick note in your phone, what their name is, when and where you met, and the interesting detail in the conversation that you learned about them. Like if you talked about where she got her nails done or like where she got her book or what the book was or something like that. Write it down just so you can kind of jog your memory if you run into her again. You can also talk about where you are. Like if you're at a workout class, be like, oh my, like, do you come here a lot? Do you like this place? Like, what do you like about it? Or you can, if you're at a cafe, like, what drink do you get? Or what do I absolutely have to try? Or is there a time of day that you don't recommend coming? Like that sort of thing. So once you've initiated that initial contact, you've had a few interactions with this person, 1 or 2 even is enough, I think. But if you want, you can make it more. But just remember, the longer you wait, the higher likelihood it is they like just never show up again if you're just hoping for chance encounters. Like, yeah, they might be a consistent person who goes to yoga every Wednesday at 7 a.m., but what if they just decide to switch to Friday one day and you just don't know, like there is some risk here the longer you wait. So after a few casual interactions with someone, you might feel nervous about taking the next step, but one of you has to be brave and initiate an intentional hangout. Think about something you have in common. For example, if you both enjoy pickleball, and that came up at one point, just casually say something like, hey, I know this might be jarring because people don't really do this, but would you want to go play like a game sometime this weekend? Or if you've been chatting at a coffee shop, keep it simple. Just say like, would you want to meet here again next week and talk about, whatever it is you talked about? Like, or maybe if you talked about a book, you'd be like, would you want to meet here again next week after I've read the book and, we can chat about it a little more if you're into that. Like, just try to bridge it as naturally, because if it is a natural connection, it could hopefully be easier because you have something in common with this person, and that can go far. You never know. I find that this is the step people get tripped up on because no one wants to be the vulnerable one. You have to assume that the other person is not going to initiate. So instead of waiting for them to remember you, follow up proactively with people that you have a vibe with. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just suggest something simple and casual. Or you can suggest getting their Instagram and just keeping an eye out for opportunities to reach out to them, maybe more organically with their story. Let's say they posted a story that they were at the beach and be like, oh my gosh, this looks so fun. Like, you can increase the number of repetitive interactions with this person by having access to their Instagram. Step 6 is to go beyond small talk slowly at an appropriate pace. Small talk is great at first, but if you really want deeper friendships, you have to move slowly beyond surface level conversations. The best way to do this is by gradually offering personal information as an invitation to progress things, right? And then pay attention to how they respond, to whether they are reciprocating in the amount of disclosure. So, for example, instead of just talking about the location you're in or the weather or the yoga class, like there's something about the immediate environment that would be considered small talk. You may introduce that you're working on a project. It doesn't have to be anything super scandalous or like close to the vest. It can be something everyone knows about, but they don't. The person you're talking to doesn't. So you can just introduce like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm working on my YouTube channel, or I'm trying to grow my Instagram, or I'm learning how to sew, or whatever it is that not everyone knows about you. And then gently ask if they're working on anything similar, if they have a creative hobby or something like that. Notice how they respond. If they can open up too, and you can slowly share more personal details about your life. Maybe they start talking about dating or their partner, and then you can start talking about that if you feel comfortable. If they're more reserved and they don't reciprocate, pull back. Like, it's okay. We can start again. Like, it's just sometimes people take a little longer to open up. Ask thoughtful, open-ended questions that go beyond logistics, where you are, the weather, any of that. And notice if they match your openness and energy. It doesn't need to feel forced. Just gradually share a little more about yourself and see if they match your level of disclosure. The YouTuber Dr. Anna has a great video about exactly how to slowly build personal closeness with someone new. I'll link that in the description and the cards. Step 7, keep showing up. We've all had friendships that faded simply because we stopped reaching out. And to avoid this, I suggest you keep showing up consistently. So check in with people regularly, even if it's just a quick text or replying to their Instagram story. Just a simple, hey, saw this meme, thought of you, can be enough to keep the friendship going. The crucial part that people struggle with is maintaining consistent communication. And that doesn't have to be complicated or overwhelming. Just give your friends grace if they're busy, but try not to let communication drop off entirely. Personally, I am to check in with most people in my life once a month or every other month, like the people I'm close to. With my closest friends, I'm usually texting them weekly. And sometimes your closest friends will rotate every few months. Like, there'll be people that you're texting a lot for weeks at a time, and then they sort of fall off and you start texting new people, and then they're kind of rotating. You can't be expected to communicate with everyone at all times because that's just really stressful. Also, remember that people have their own lives. And they may have a family, they may have kids, they may have a really stressful job, like they may be caring for a parent, like, or a relative of some kind. And in those seasons of life, they may need more support. They may need you to reach out more. And that's just something to be aware of as you're going forward and thinking about that. If you are someone with more free time or flexibility, just don't expect people to always be as flexible as you. And if you're one of those people who has too much going on, you're spinning too many plates at once, and you sort of need other people to sort of pick up the slack, I recommend saying that and be like, hey, I really enjoy spending time with you. I love when you reach out. Just letting you know my life is crazy right now and I don't have even a minute to myself. So I may not be good at texting first, but please text me. I really enjoy hearing from you. Even that is enough to get people to not feel resentful about you not reaching out to them. I think that if you make it clear that you enjoy their company and their time and you want to maintain this friendship, but you just have other priorities in your life that prevent you from like prioritizing communication, like especially when it's out of sight, out of mind communication, like texting or Instagram and DMs and all that stuff. It's not like an immediate phone call that's in your face and you have it's like now or never. Like I think people are forgiving of that. You just need to communicate. Now, I know when I first started this whole journey of meeting friends in my area, I had a lot of excuses for myself. So let me tackle any of your potential excuses now. Objection number one, social anxiety. You might be thinking, I'd love to do this, but I have social anxiety. And trust me, baby girl, I've been there. I know it's real. I've had psychiatrists diagnose me with this. But please have hope that you can still form meaningful connections while you have social anxiety. In fact, my social anxiety is low-key gone. Honestly. So I hope this helps you. Please recognize that you can't think your way out of social anxiety. Thinking makes it worse. I need you to recognize this. The only thing that will allow you to increase your confidence is doing it. That's the hardest part. You're never going to wake up one morning magically feeling fearless to talk to new people. And the confidence will come in small, manageable actions that you gently push yourself out of your comfort zone. Like smiling at a stranger, making eye contact and holding it a little longer than you normally would, or just a quick conversation at the coffee shop or in the grocery store, wherever you are, or just saying hi to somebody, initiating contact in tiny ways, and you realize that it's not going to kill you, that people are actually nicer than you think. They are. They really are. There's actually studies on that. I think a major roadblock for socially anxious people is believing you're bothering someone by initiating contact. But remember, most people want to connect just as much as you. Most people are just as lonely for you. They're just waiting for someone else to make the first move. So I want you to affirm yourself that you are not a burden and think about how you'd feel if someone smiled and said hi to you. You'd probably welcome it because you're watching this video, right? You don't know if that's where they're at. And I like to assume that people are more or less thinking the same thing as me when we're out and about. Like they're going to try to help people if someone needs help, or they're going to smile and reciprocate. They're going to be respectful and polite, like people are not rude. And I think the internet has just made the rude people like come to the top of the pack here, like, because that's the stuff that goes viral. But I don't think most people act that way in real life. I really don't. Another practical tip that's helped me is to script out the first 10 seconds of an interaction. So prepare a simple, genuine compliment. Maybe you like their nails or their shoes or their bag or their book or something like that. Compliments are an easy and natural conversation starters because people want to talk about themselves, right? Like if you're telling them that you're giving them permission to talk about something that they clearly enjoy, then that's a great way to get them to keep going and talking and feeling good about the interaction. So it could be something like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I just have to know, where did you get those shoes? Because I think those would look great on my sister and I really want to get her a pair. Like that sort of thing. And that is just a great way to start the conversation. Maybe she's like, oh, I got these thrifting. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know if I can find a new pair, but the brand is whatever. Like she can tell you the brand. She's like, I think you might find it on this. And that starts a conversation about online thrift stores. Amazing. You just did that at a coffee shop. Like you started a conversation about thrifting. Be like, I really need a thrift buddy. And she's like, oh my gosh, me too. Look at that. And then you exchange phone numbers or Instagrams. You've initiated. And it feels really good. Remember, you build trust slowly, one safe interaction at a time. Most people are kinder than we imagine. Assume that they will react the same exact way you would if they approached you with openness and authenticity and genuine warmth. Objection number 2, I'm an introvert, so this all sounds very exhausting. Okay, let's unpack this a bit because I'm also an introvert. And I think there's some confusion around the word introvert on the internet because sometimes I think people use it to mean something other than what it actually means. Often people say they're introverted when they actually mean they're cynical or fed up with people. And if that's the case, that's a mindset that you need to work on, because if you want to meet new people and you're actually very cynical and pessimistic about whether good people exist or whether you can deal with good people, you're going to ruin things. I don't know how to say it any other way. You're going to go into situations being a little hostile without even realizing it. And people are going to be like, what the hell is wrong? What is going on? Right? Like, you don't want that. Maybe it's comment section bias, but I do see a lot of people adopting this idea that people suck. And then as a protective mechanism to avoid getting hurt, they will go around with the people suck, people suck. So they're the ones that end up sucking. And it's like, okay, you're not an introvert, you're just being mean. Other times people say introvert when they really mean they're shy or socially anxious, which in my opinion is a different issue entirely that we can totally work on, but that's not necessarily introverted. Introverted is you just kind of like being alone. Like true introversion means you recharge on your own. It's not that you dislike people or don't want friends. Introverts frequently crave deep, meaningful relationships just as much as anyone else. They simply approach socializing differently. So if you're introverted, here's how you can still build meaningful friendships without feeling like it's draining you. The problem with being an introvert is you can't really plan ahead when you are going to want to feel like socializing. I think that's the biggest issue because you'll make plans like 3 weeks from now and then 3 weeks come and you're like, I don't feel like doing this. And I think that's what most people run into. And that's when you kind of have to push through it. I'm so sorry. Like if you end up being the flaky friend who just does whatever they want to do instead of considering the other person, people are going to remember that and they're not going to want to deal with that and they're not going to want to make plans and go out of their way to try to connect with you, because whether we like it or not, we are all going out of our way for each other as adults. That is what makes it so difficult. We are taking a less convenient route or path in life, like where we're deviating from what we would normally do in our day or our week or our month or whatever, and going to meet someone that we wouldn't normally run into. And this whole video is about trying to get folks to put themselves in the path of other people, but in order to initiate new hangouts, you're going to be inconveniencing each other a little bit. And that's okay. That's what has to happen. But when you have built-in communities like school or church or work or wherever, that inconvenience is less there. Like it's more about you're going to this place already, and the people that are going to be there have already made commitments to go to that place as well. So it's not about inconvenience. Plan shorter one-on-one hangouts instead of group events. And also schedule quiet downtime after social interactions to recharge so you don't feel like you have two things back to back. And I would also try to prioritize deeper conversations with fewer people rather than like constantly having a bunch of like small, like surface level conversations going at once. I think those really help with energy levels for people who are introverted, because I find that people who are introverted don't get so drained by the like deeper conversations. They actually find that stuff more energizing. They do get drained by the small talk. And that is what is actually draining you. It's this surface level, like lack of connection. You're just sort of putting on like a sort of a mask or a performance or whatever you want to call it. And you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like, this is boring and annoying and pointless. Being introverted doesn't stop you from forming like friendships and connections. It really doesn't. In fact, I think introverts have a superpower in friendships and connections because we are really intuitive and good listeners, because we are like we want to be in contact with the person that we are with. Like it's a one-on-one experience. I honestly have not met many true extroverts. I think most of us are actually very much ambiverts. But when I do meet extroverts, they're like walking around, they're going everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, there's so much going on. They like just walk up to random people at random places. And I'm like, you met a new friend. Okay, that's great. Amazing. I'm like, girl, how did you find this person? Objection number 3, I have no money. Okay. Another problem people run into is I love to be out there more, but I just can't afford it. Yes, I get it. It can be expensive. It really can be, especially if you live in a major city. But I challenge you to think outside the box, because there are plenty of completely free ways to meet people and have fun, especially in the summer, which is when I'm filming this right now. So I recommend checking the resources you have available to you right now. Local libraries for free events, nearby parks, explore community websites, or go to private websites like Meetup or Eventbrite or Facebook groups to see who's putting on events. Try hiking, try outdoor stuff, outdoor workouts, going to the park, exploring. What you want to do is explore. Just go somewhere and walk around. Okay. And like it doesn't even have to be far away from where you live. Just there are places I have lived that I have not explored yet. And I'm pretty sure that's true of a lot of people. I'm in New York City and it's the summer and it's pop-up season right now. I think the number of pop-ups we have is like a recession indicator. It's crazy. So think about like get creative about where you go. In New York City, they do a lot of stuff in the summertime. They do a lot of outdoor movies that are pretty much free. Like as long as you plan ahead and you get a ticket, you can show up. They do a lot of concert events at Bryant Park, that sort of thing. So if you're in a major city, just check out what the city is putting on because they usually want to try to create community and events in the summertime. With a bit of creativity, you will find plenty of ways to socialize without spending a lot of money or any money even. If you live in a more rural area or suburban area, there tend to be more events for families, I think. I've never lived in a rural area, but I have lived in suburban areas in my life. And the suburban areas it's just like a lot of block parties and like there are fairs and like markets and stuff like that. This could be a good place to go, but honestly, I didn't find all that stuff very invigorating. It was mostly for like kids and parents to get together. I think that with those areas, volunteering is actually a really good way to meet people. Like find something you are passionate about and volunteer there and just keep going back every week or every month or how frequently you can manage to go. You can also donate blood or platelets or something like that. I used to donate platelets once or twice a month. And I met a friend there because I would go to the same location every time and it was always on the weekend. So we would usually run into each other because when you're donating platelets, you're there for 3 hours. Just like get a little creative. You'll find places to go without spending a lot of money. I promise. They're out there. You just have to think outside the box. Now, the next objection is, seriously, I don't know where to go or what to do. Okay. So start by choosing one consistent space every week, a local event, a yoga class, a co-working space, a cafe, just anywhere you can show up repeatedly. And focus less on where's the perfect place and more on where you can go over time, right? Think about places that it's the higher likelihood of people talking to one another. And it's not about being perfect. It's not about finding the perfect place. I think people get caught up on that and then they don't end up going anywhere. You don't even have to go to the same place over and over again. Try going to different like spots, finding different bars or whatever. And notice I haven't mentioned bars once. Like you don't have to go to a bar. I don't drink, so I don't really hang out at bars. It feels weird that a person who doesn't drink would hang out at a bar. So though New York City has more bars that are non-alcoholic, like literally the whole bar is non-alcoholic. It's just like a juice bar. I've run into like 2 of those actually in the area. So there's more places than you think. This is the time to put on your research cap and really just go ham. You can ask AI to help you do some research, though honestly, not the most reliable. It's not great what it spits out because sometimes it's looking at data from like pre-pandemic and it's gone. Oh, that location's no longer there. But it can get you started. Also, look on social media. People are curating these events. There are also a lot of blogs for major cities and areas that you may not know about that people are updating. There are like hyper local blogs. You can check out newspaper, like online, like newspapers for any certain area that you're in. I know in New Jersey, like a lot of towns have their own blog or like online communities and forums that you can find events in. So I recommend just like this was an excuse I made. Like, I don't know where to go. There are so many places to go. I promise there are. It's just a matter of finding them. And we've gotten to the point where it's so easy to be comfortable in our living rooms and we have our phones in our hands. We feel like we're exploring the entire world. And you can step out your comfort zone and find new places. It's just a matter of getting out there. The final objection I anticipate getting is I live in a small town and there's no one to be friends with. Okay, so this is not something I have personal experience with. I just want to preface that. So here's my 2 cents. I have 2 recommendations. First is to expand your definition of people who are available to you, essentially. So you want to start with proximity in your neighborhood, your barista, the person at the counter at the gym or at the community center or whatever there is, okay? You want to start there. Also, don't be afraid to befriend people who aren't exactly the same age as you. You can learn a lot from people who are older or even a little younger than you. And it gives you a fresh perspective on life to have intergenerational friendships. It's not something we talk about very frequently. My second recommendation is to take day trips to places that are maybe an hour or 2 away. And I know that's not always accessible and can be a little pricey with the gas and buying food and all that. But if you've truly hit a dead end in your immediate area, the next step is to expand in one way or another. And that would be my recommendation for folks in rural areas. Again, this is a blind spot I have. I've never lived in an area like that. So if you are someone in the comment section who has insight about how to navigate this in a rural area, please let us know and hit us down there in the comments. So now that you have the tools and resources you need to start making friends, you may still be hiding parts of yourself in order to be liked. And if you do that, those friendships will not feel safe or real. Watch this next video where I show you how being more authentic can completely shift the way people respond to you and help you attract friendships that actually feel aligned and last. Please consider subscribing on here and to the newsletter, and follow me on TikTok and Instagram if you want more daily content. So until the next one, bye.